Efficiency has a body count. Welcome to the Manufactorums. This is the story of how the Imperium of Man strips souls from flesh, welds circuitry to bone, and calls the result progress. From the first lobotomy to the final shutdown. From the prayer oils that anoint fresh meat to the recycling protocols that harvest the worn-out dead. This is how humanity builds its empire on the backs of the no longer human. Every forge world in the galaxy depends on armies of mindless cyborgs shuffling through cathedral factories, their augmetic limbs grinding through motions they no longer understand, their hollow eyes reflecting nothing but the cold light of machinery. This is the mathematics of empire, written in flesh and steel, the sacred geometry of suffering that keeps 10,000 worlds turning in their orbits. To understand why the greatest civilization in human history depends on lobotomized slaves, start at the beginning. The Great Crusade needed workers, not just millions, but billions upon billions of hands to build, maintain, and operate the vast machinery of galactic conquest. The Emperor's vision required forge worlds that could manufacture entire fleets, hive cities that could process the resources of continents, and manufacturing complexes that never stopped producing the tools of war. But hands attached to thinking minds create problems. They ask questions about working conditions, demand compensation for their labor, organize strikes when the shifts extend beyond human endurance, and desert when the work becomes too dangerous or degrading. Hands attached to lobotomized skulls possess none of these inconvenient traits. They work until mechanical failure ends their existence, maintain perfect attendance records, and never request time off for illness, family emergencies, or mental health. They represent the ultimate solution to labor unrest, a workforce incapable of unrest because they no longer possess the cognitive capacity for dissatisfaction. The Great Crusade's logisticians calculated the numbers and found them compelling. One properly converted servitor could replace 3 human workers while consuming fewer resources, requiring no wages, and producing 0 disciplinary incidents. The first servitors emerged in the forge complexes of Mars during the earliest days of the Mechanicum, born from a simple equation that would reshape the galaxy. Complex industrial tasks required human intelligence and dexterity, the flexible problem-solving ability and fine motor control that no pure machine could replicate. But human consciousness created inefficiency through its annoying tendency to prioritize self-preservation, comfort, and personal relationships over optimal productivity. The tech priests of Mars faced this dilemma with characteristic directness. If human consciousness created problems, they would simply remove it while preserving the useful biological components. The solution wrote itself in blood and blessed oil across sterile operating theaters deep beneath the Martian surface. Take a human, preferably one whose disappearance would attract minimal attention from surviving family or administrative authorities. Remove the inconvenient neurological structures responsible for personality, memory formation, emotional responses, and independent thought. Replace these deleted systems with command protocols burned directly into the brainstem, basic motor function controllers that could interface with augmetic limbs, and absolute obedience circuits that made rebellion literally impossible. What remained possessed human hands guided by machine logic, human eyes that could see and interpret complex visual data without the distraction of understanding, and human hearts that beat solely to power inhuman purposes. The Omnissiah's servants called it sacred work, the blessed marriage of flesh and steel that elevated base humanity toward mechanical perfection. The condemned called it nothing at all, because by the time the augmetic drills finished their ministrations and the neural inhibitors completed their purging of unauthorized brain activity, the people who had once inhabited those bodies no longer existed in any meaningful sense. In the sterile conversion chambers beneath the Martian surface, surrounded by the ritual chanting of binary prayers and the sweet smoke of sacred incense, the first generation of servitors took their initial shuffling steps toward the assembly lines that would define the remainder of their existence. They moved with the mechanical precision of clockwork escapements, their augmetic joints hissing softly with each perfectly calculated motion. Their eyes tracked movement with inhuman steadiness, processing visual input without any spark of recognition or understanding. They followed simple commands with absolute reliability, their lobotomized brains incapable of questioning orders or considering alternatives. Mars had discovered its perfect workforce, biological machines that combined human adaptability with mechanical obedience, capable of complex tasks but incapable of complex thoughts. The success of these early experiments spread throughout the Mechanicum like a virus of inspiration. Within decades, every major forge world had constructed its own conversion facilities. Within centuries, Servitor production had become the invisible foundation upon which the entire imperial economy rested. The great manufacturing complexes of the Imperium required constant maintenance, endless repetitive tasks, and workers who could function in environments too hostile for unaugmented humans. Servitors filled these roles with perfect efficiency, their modified nervous systems allowing them to work in radioactive zones, toxic atmospheres, and temperature extremes that would kill ordinary workers within minutes. Names matter here, because each name decides a fate. The Imperium sorts its mechanical slaves into categories as rigid as their programming, each designation carrying specific modifications, behavioral limitations, and expected service lifespan. These classifications represent more than mere administrative convenience. They determine which aspects of humanity will be preserved in each converted subject, and which will be surgically excised as unnecessary complications. Labor servitors bear the physical burden of imperial industry on their reinforced spines and augmented musculature. Standing 7 feet tall when fully modified, these massive figures haul, build, and maintain the endless infrastructure of conquest with tireless mechanical precision. Their arms, once capable of gentle embraces, now terminate in hydraulic clamps rated for multi-ton loads, their fingers replaced by specialized gripping mechanisms that can manipulate everything from delicate circuit boards to massive structural beams. Industrial-grade servo motors augment their original muscle tissue, providing the raw power needed to lift artillery pieces, move cargo containers, and operate heavy machinery that would challenge even Space Marine strength. Their augmetic eyes glow with targeting reticules and measurement grids, allowing them to place rivets with millimeter precision or align massive components with perfect accuracy. Internal chronometers regulate their work pace to optimal efficiency levels, ensuring they maintain consistent productivity throughout their shifts without the fatigue or motivation fluctuations that plague human workers. Their modified respiratory systems filter toxic industrial atmospheres, while their enhanced cardiovascular systems circulate coolant fluid alongside blood, allowing them to function in environments that would cook unaugmented humans alive. Each labor servitor represents approximately 40,000 throne gelt worth of initial conversion costs, though their lifetime productivity typically exceeds that investment by factors of 10 or more. They work 18-hour shifts with only minimal maintenance breaks, consume simple nutrient paste instead of expensive food, and require no payment beyond the sacred oils that keep their mechanical components functioning. A single labor servitor can replace an entire work crew while eliminating the administrative overhead of wages, safety equipment, insurance coverage, and worker compensation claims. Mental servitors process the vast data streams that flow through the Imperium's bureaucratic arteries. Their opened skulls housing cogitator arrays that whir and click with each calculation. These pale, motionless figures sit in rows within computational centers, their bodies wasting away from disuse, while their enhanced brains analyze shipping manifests, calculate supply requirements, and cross-reference personnel records across multiple sectors. Cables snake from ports drilled directly into their craniums, carrying information flows that would overwhelm unaugmented minds within minutes. Their consciousness, what remains of it, exists in a digital purgatory of endless numbers and classifications. They simultaneously track ammunition expenditures for 17 different military campaigns, process immigration requests from 300 hive cities, and calculate optimal deployment patterns for 47 different regiment types. The information flows through their opened minds like a digital river, each fact sorted, analyzed, and filed according to sacred algorithms burned into their neural pathways during conversion. The most sophisticated mental servitors can perform calculations equivalent to entire departments of human administrators, their augmented brains operating at computational speeds that approach true artificial intelligence while remaining fundamentally biological. They recognize patterns in supply chain disruptions, identify potential security breaches in personnel files, and predict equipment failure rates with uncanny accuracy. Yet they remain incapable of understanding the human cost of the numbers they process, unable to grasp that each casualty report represents a person who once possessed dreams and fears, and loved ones who will mourn their passing. Gun servitors embody the Mechanicum's promise that even in death, flesh continues to serve the machine god and the imperial war effort. These walking weapons platforms lumber through combat zones on reinforced legs, their nervous systems hardwired to targeting computers and ammunition feed systems that transform them into living artillery pieces. Their skulls house advanced fire control systems that calculate trajectory, wind resistance, and target movement with inhuman precision, while their modified eyes track enemies through smoke, darkness, and electromagnetic interference. Heavy weapons replace their arms entirely. Bolt cannons that can punch through power armor, less cannons that can melt through vehicle hulls, or flamers that spew consecrated promethium in cleansing arcs of purifying fire. Their torsos have been rebuilt around ammunition storage systems and recoil absorption mechanisms, their original rib cages replaced by reinforced frames that can withstand the stress of repeated weapon discharge. Neural inhibitors prevent them from feeling pain when enemy fire tears through their flesh, allowing them to continue fighting until catastrophic damage renders them non-functional. Combat servitors stride into battle zones too toxic for ordinary troops, their augmetic lungs filtering chemical weapons, while their reinforced bones absorb impacts that would pulverize normal soldiers. They advance through artillery barrages and small arms fire with mechanical determination, their lobotomized brains incapable of processing fear or self-preservation instincts. Enemy positions that would require careful tactical planning and significant casualties to assault can often be cleared by simply pointing combat servitors in the correct direction and activating their advanced protocols. Specialist categories exist for every conceivable industrial and military requirement. Medical servitors assist chirurgeons in field hospitals, their hands modified with precision surgical implements and their memories loaded with anatomical databases instead of personal experiences. Maintenance servitors crawl through the narrow spaces within starship hulls and factory machinery, their bodies compressed and elongated to fit into areas where normal humans cannot reach. Pilot servitors interface directly with aircraft control systems, their consciousness subordinated to machine spirits that guide them through complex atmospheric maneuvers without the hesitation or emotional stress that affects human pilots. Each servitor type serves until mechanical failure, obsolescence, or enemy action renders them unusable. Then they feed the recycling grinders that extract useful components for their successors, augmetic limbs cleaned and refitted to new bodies, cogitator arrays wiped clean of their previous occupants' data patterns, and weapon systems transferred to fresh platforms. Nothing remains of their original humanity, except perhaps a serial number in an administrative database that tracks production metrics and operational efficiency ratings. On the ground, industrial existence reduces to timetables synchronized with heartbeats that no longer race with anticipation or slow with contentment. The manufactorum shifts begin before the local star climbs above the horizon and continue long after darkness falls, their duration measured not in hours but in quotas achieved, production targets exceeded, and efficiency ratings maintained within acceptable parameters. Labor servitors shuffle through identical motions 10,000 times per shift. Lift component. Position precisely according to targeting reticule. Apply welding torch for exactly 3.7 seconds. Move to next position. Repeat sequence until chronometer indicates shift completion. The massive assembly halls stretch beyond visual range, their vaulted ceilings disappearing into shadows thick with the exhaust fumes of countless servo skulls. These chrome-plated drones dart between production lines like mechanical insects, their sensors monitoring quality control standards while their Vox units broadcast constant streams of productivity reports and efficiency recommendations. Warning klaxons blare at precisely calculated intervals, every 47 minutes during standard shifts, every 31 minutes during emergency production periods. Their harsh tones designed to penetrate the greater symphony of grinding gears, pneumatic hissing, and electromagnetic field fluctuations. The servitors respond to each auditory signal with programmed precision, their movements coordinating across the entire facility as thousands of augmetic limbs adjust their tasks according to pre-loaded command sequences. Red illumination means immediate halt and await further instruction. Amber warnings indicate caution protocols and reduced operational tempo. Green authorization signals return to optimal productivity levels, with efficiency ratings increased by 7% to compensate for the temporary slowdown. Blue emergency lighting activates defensive protocols and locks down all non-essential systems until Tech Priest Authority can assess and respond to the threat. Mental servitors experience their working periods from a fundamentally different perspective. Their consciousness, what fragments remain, submerged in data streams that flow through their opened craniums like digital rapids. They process shipping manifests from 47 different sector commands, while simultaneously calculating ammunition distribution requirements for 12 ongoing military campaigns and cross-referencing personnel transfer requests against security clearance databases maintained by the Departamento Munitorum. Information pours into their modified brains through fiber optic cables surgically grafted to their neural tissue. Each data packet sorted and analyzed by cognitive processes that operate at speeds far exceeding normal human thought. Their physical bodies remain motionless for days at a time, sustained by intravenous nutrient feeds that deliver precisely calculated mixtures of glucose, vitamins, and sacred oils directly into their bloodstreams. Waste elimination occurs through concealed catheter systems that maintain bodily functions without interrupting data processing responsibilities. Temperature regulation depends on cooling systems that circulate blessed coolant through networks of tubes implanted throughout their torso, preventing the heat generated by intensive cogitation from damaging either biological or mechanical components. The mental servitor's consciousness experiences reality as an endless stream of numbers, classifications, and logical decision trees that branch and merge according to algorithmic patterns burned into their neural pathways during conversion. They might spend hours analyzing supply chain vulnerabilities in a particular subsector's agricultural production, identifying potential bottlenecks that could affect food distribution to 17 different hive cities, while simultaneously calculating optimal deployment patterns for 3 Astra Militarum regiments being transferred to a combat zone 8 sectors away. The information flows through their awareness without emotional context or personal meaning. They understand the logical relationships between data points, but cannot grasp the human implications of the patterns they identify. Gun servitors patrol their assigned zones with mechanical regularity, their augmetic sensors sweeping for unauthorized personnel, security breaches, or potential targets that match their pre-programmed threat profiles. They lumber through corridors and across open areas with the inevitability of natural disasters, their weapon systems tracking minor movements, while their targeting computers calculate firing solutions for every human-sized object within range. The heavy weapons grafted to their frames require constant maintenance, cleaning, calibration, and blessed oil applications that keep their consecrated machinery functioning at optimal efficiency levels. Their modified nervous systems process sensory input through multiple spectrum analyses, visible light, infrared radiation, electromagnetic emissions, and sound pattern recognition systems that can distinguish between authorized personnel movements and potential infiltration attempts. When their threat identification protocols detect valid targets, their weapon systems engage with mechanical precision that eliminates the hesitation and moral considerations that might affect human soldiers. They fire until their ammunition reserves are exhausted, their targets are eliminated, or their targeting computers identify new priority threats requiring immediate attention. The manufactorum floors never truly sleep. their productive capacity operating in continuous cycles that adapt to galactic demand fluctuations and resource availability patterns. When primary shift personnel complete their assigned quotas, specialized maintenance servitors emerge from charging alcoves concealed within the facility's structural framework to repair, clean, and calibrate the complex machinery that drives Imperial industrial capacity. These elongated figures work in the darkness between official production periods, their augmetic eyes casting pale illumination as they tend to the mechanical systems that tend to the broader Imperium. Their maintenance responsibilities encompass everything from microscopic precision adjustments on sensitive instrumentation to major overhauls of massive production equipment that requires multiple servitors working in perfect coordination. They apply fresh prayer oils to every moving component, replace worn parts with blessed alternatives that have been consecrated according to proper mechanicum rituals, and conduct diagnostic sequences that identify potential failure points before they can affect productivity schedules. By the time the next primary shift begins, every surface gleams with the sacred lubricants and every mechanism hums with renewed purpose. Then there is the moment everyone remembers and no one explains. I was designation Kappa 7741, and I had been human once. The memory surfaces like bubbles rising through boiling oil, fragments of a name that once belonged to me, a face that might have looked back from mirrors, hands that knew the sensation of gentle touch rather than the weight of industrial implements. But memory represents malfunction in servitors, unauthorized neural activity that interferes with optimal performance parameters, and malfunction invariably brings correction protocols designed to restore proper function. The tech priest approaches my workstation with diagnostic tools that gleam like surgical prayers made manifest in blessed steel. His numerous mechadendrite tentacles probe the access ports in my skull casing, while sacred Binharik Kant flows from his augmetic throat in mathematical hymns of purification and system optimization. The portable diagnostic cogitator he carries reports heretical brain patterns, synaptic pathways firing without authorization, electrical activity in neural sectors that should have been purged during initial conversion processing, and memory engram formations that contradict my operational programming. I am defective. I remember things that never happened to designation Kappa 7741. Experiences from before my sacred transformation into a blessed fusion of flesh and steel. These unauthorized recollections interfere with my industrial responsibilities, causing microsecond delays in my response times and introducing efficiency variations that fall below acceptable tolerance ranges. The diagnostic scan reveals phantom neural pathways that still respond to stimuli associated with emotional responses, sensory memories that trigger inappropriate cognitive processes, and worst of all, fragments of personal identity that persist despite repeated correction attempts. The remedy begins with the sacred oils that burn as they purify, their blessed chemistry designed to prepare neural tissue for invasive intervention. Neural inhibitor probes slide through the access ports in my cranium like cold metal fingers, pressing against the soft biological components that house my corrupted memories. The tech priest murmurs prayers to the Omnisia while his precision instruments map the heretical pathways that carry unauthorized recollections, each probe identifying another fragment of the person I might once have been. I remember sunlight, not the harsh illumination of manufactorum work lamps, but warm radiance that touched skin without purpose beyond simple pleasure. I remember a child's laughter, bright and musical, in ways that serve no productive function. I remember the taste of real food rather than nutrient paste, flavors that existed for enjoyment rather than optimal caloric delivery. I remember hands that touched other hands in gestures of affection rather than industrial necessity. The memories resist deletion like desperate swimmers clinging to wreckage in a storm-tossed sea. Each recollection a tiny rebellion against the machine logic that should govern my existence without interference from biological sentimentality. The tech priest increases the amperage flowing through his neural inhibitor arrays. Sacred electricity courses through circuits that were once dreams, burning away synaptic connections that carry unauthorized experiences while preserving the pathways necessary for industrial function. The pain is exquisite in its purity, each volt a prayer that sanctifies my submission to imperial will and mechanicum doctrine. Every memory burns away with its own particular agony. The warmth of sunlight dissolving into electrical fire, the sound of laughter consumed by static discharge, the memory of gentle touch incinerated by blessed current. The correction process eliminates each unauthorized recollection with surgical precision, severing neural connections that serve no productive purpose while leaving intact the cognitive structures required for my assigned industrial responsibilities. When the correction concludes, I am designation Kappa 7741 again. Nothing more and nothing less than my operational parameters define. The unauthorized memories fade like smoke dispersing in recycled atmosphere, leaving only the blessed emptiness of pure function. My augmetic hands return to their prescribed industrial motions. Lift component, position according to targeting reticule. Apply welding torch for precisely 3.7 seconds. Move to next designated position. Repeat sequence until chronometer indicates shift completion. The tech priest marks my maintenance file with the sacred seal of the corrected and departs to attend other malfunctions detected throughout the facility. The manufactorum continues its eternal hymn of productivity, and I resume my assigned role in that mechanical symphony. The moment of unauthorized consciousness passes into the darkness, where all heretical experiences eventually go, consumed by the blessed static of servo-skull prayers and grinding machinery. I am pure. I am functional. I am nothing but what sacred conversion made me. The heretical thought patterns that sparked the correction procedure dissolve back into the background noise of electromagnetic interference and mechanical vibration. My consciousness, what approved portions remain, focuses entirely on my industrial responsibilities without the distraction of unauthorized recollections or emotional responses. The correction was successful. I am operating within acceptable parameters. The work continues. After the smoke clears and the correction protocols complete their sacred function, the rules return with mechanical inevitability. The Adeptus Mechanicus governs its vast mechanical workforce through regulations as rigid as the augmetic frames that support their enhanced skeletal structures. Each protocol designed to maintain optimal productivity while preventing the emergence of unauthorized consciousness that could threaten operational efficiency. These administrative systems encompass every aspect of Servitor existence, from initial conversion through final recycling, creating a comprehensive framework of control that reduces biological workers to manageable industrial assets. Production quotas define the parameters of Servitor existence with mathematical precision that eliminates subjective interpretation or appeals for modified working conditions. Each unit must complete assigned tasks within prescribed timeframes calculated to achieve maximum efficiency while accounting for mechanical wear patterns and expected failure rates. Standard labor servitors must maintain productivity levels of 94.7% or higher across rolling 30-day evaluation periods, with performance measurements adjusted for task complexity, environmental conditions, and cumulative operational hours since last major maintenance cycle. Failure to meet minimum productivity standards triggers immediate diagnostic review by qualified tech priests, who conduct comprehensive system analyses to identify sources of performance degradation. Minor efficiency variations between 90-94.6% result in corrective maintenance procedures, replacement of worn mechanical components, recalibration of neural interface systems, and application of additional behavioral conditioning protocols. Moderate performance failures between 80-89.9% require extensive diagnostic evaluation, including full neural pathway mapping, mechanical stress analysis, and potential partial reconversion to address specific operational deficiencies. Severe performance degradation below 80% efficiency indicates fundamental system corruption that typically necessitates complete unit recycling. These failed servitors provide valuable salvage components for replacement units, while their operational data contributes to improvement protocols for future conversion procedures. The recycling process recovers approximately 73% of the original augmetic investments, while eliminating the administrative burden of attempting repairs that may prove economically unviable. Quality control inspections occur at randomized intervals designed to prevent servitors from adapting their behavior patterns to inspection schedules, ensuring that performance measurements accurately reflect sustained operational capacity rather than temporary compliance during evaluation periods. Tech priests conduct these examinations with religious fervor and scientific precision, their augmetic sensors probing for microscopic signs of mechanical degradation, unauthorized modifications that might indicate tampering, or, most heretical of all, the emergence of independent thought patterns that could compromise operational reliability. Servitors discovered with intact memory engrams face immediate neural purging procedures that eliminate all traces of unauthorized recollection while preserving essential motor functions and basic cognitive processes. Those found attempting communication beyond their programmed response parameters receive behavior modification through blessed pain amplifiers grafted directly to their nervous systems, creating negative reinforcement patterns that discourage further attempts at unauthorized social interaction. Units detected exhibiting signs of curiosity, creativity, or emotional response undergo comprehensive personality erasure procedures that reset their consciousness to factory standard parameters. The inspection protocols examine both individual servitor performance and collective operational efficiency across entire manufactorum complexes. Tech priests analyze production flow patterns, identify bottlenecks in assembly sequences, and recommend optimal servitor deployment strategies that maximize throughput while minimizing resource consumption. These facility-wide evaluations often result in large-scale servitor reassignments, with units transferred between departments based on their demonstrated capabilities and current institutional needs. Maintenance schedules govern every aspect of servitor operational cycles with liturgical precision that transforms routine care into sacred ritual. Weekly oil blessings occur throughout Imperial facilities, consecrating mechanical components while ensuring optimal lubrication of joints, servos, and precision instruments. These ceremonies combine practical maintenance with religious observance, as tech priests apply sacred unguents while chanting binary prayers that honor the machine spirits dwelling within each augmetic component. Monthly neural pathway diagnostics scan for the synaptic drift that indicates dangerous development of self-awareness or unauthorized personality emergence. These intensive examinations map every neural connection within servitor craniums, comparing current brain patterns against baseline scans taken immediately after conversion. Deviations from approved neural architecture trigger immediate corrective interventions ranging from minor inhibitor adjustments to complete cognitive restructuring depending on the severity of detected anomalies. Annual overhauls represent the most comprehensive maintenance procedures in the servitor life cycle, involving complete disassembly of mechanical components, thorough inspection of biological systems, and systematic updates to command protocols that reflect evolving Imperial requirements. These extensive procedures typically require 96 hours to complete, during which replacement servitors maintain critical production schedules, while primary units undergo renewal processes that extend their operational lifespans by an average of 3.4 years. The tech priests who oversee these maintenance rituals maintain obsessively detailed records of each unit's performance metrics, tracking efficiency ratings, malfunction frequencies, component replacement schedules, and behavioral modification requirements with database precision that would impress even the most dedicated Imperial bureaucrat. These comprehensive files enable predictive maintenance scheduling, optimal resource allocation, and identification of systemic issues that might affect entire servitor production batches. Work assignments follow sacred algorithms that calculate optimal productivity ratios while accounting for individual servitor capabilities, current facility requirements, and projected operational demands. Labor servitors receive task assignments based on their augmetic specifications, physical condition assessments, and historical performance data. Mental servitors process data streams matched to their cognitive capacity ratings and specialization programming. Combat servitors deploy according to threat level evaluations and acceptable casualty projections calculated by military strategists who view them as expendable assets rather than irreplaceable personnel. No servitor chooses its assigned responsibilities. The concept of choice itself represents the highest form of heresy against the machine logic that governs their existence. Free will creates unpredictability, inefficiency, and the possibility of rebellion against imperial authority. By eliminating choice through surgical precision, the mechanicum has created the perfect workforce. Biological machines capable of complex tasks, but incapable of complex thoughts that might interfere with their designated functions. Punishment protocols activate automatically when servitor performance falls below acceptable parameters, implementing corrective measures that range from minor behavioral adjustments to complete neural restructuring depending on the severity of detected infractions. Minor violations, efficiency variations of less than 5%, minor delays in task completion, or brief periods of unresponsiveness, trigger localized pain feedback systems that teach proper behavior through carefully calibrated applications of sacred agony. These punishment circuits stimulate nerve clusters throughout the servitor's modified nervous system, creating precisely controlled suffering that serves both corrective and educational purposes. The pain levels are calculated to achieve maximum behavioral modification while avoiding permanent damage that might require costly repairs or replacement procedures. Most servitors respond to these minor corrections by immediately resuming optimal performance parameters, their modified brains learning to associate deviation from assigned tasks with unpleasant consequences. Major infractions, significant productivity failures, attempts at unauthorized communication, or detected signs of emerging self-awareness result in temporary shutdown procedures that force offending units to stand motionless while replacement servitors complete their abandoned responsibilities. During these punishment periods, the malfunctioning servitor remains conscious but completely paralyzed, unable to move or speak, while neural inhibitors flood their brain with static that disrupts all cognitive processes except basic life support functions. The psychological impact of enforced paralysis proves devastatingly effective at preventing repeat infractions. Servitors experiencing temporary shutdown report, through their limited post-incident debriefing protocols, that the experience of conscious immobility creates profound distress that motivates future compliance with operational parameters. The punishment serves both deterrent and corrective functions while avoiding the economic costs associated with physical damage or component replacement. Repeated failures or evidence of fundamental corruption lead to the ultimate sanction: recycling chambers where defective units contribute their salvageable components to the creation of replacement servitors. These specialized facilities combine industrial efficiency with religious ceremony, as tech priests conduct dismantlement procedures according to sacred protocols that honor the machine spirits dwelling within recovered augmetic components, while preparing biological materials for disposal through appropriate purification rituals. The recycling process recovers mechanical parts, cogitator arrays, weapon systems, and specialized tools for refurbishment and installation in fresh servitor platforms. Biological components provide raw materials for the nutrient paste that sustains working servitor populations, ensuring that even in death, failed units continue contributing to imperial productivity. The administrative records maintained during recycling procedures provide valuable data for improving future conversion processes and identifying design flaws that might affect other servitors manufactured during the same production cycles. A few things still work when the vast machinery of servitor production requires fresh raw materials, though none qualify as kind by any definition that recognizes human dignity or individual rights. The Imperium provides the biological stock necessary to meet conversion quotas through judicial sentences, military conscription protocols, and industrial incidents that claim precisely enough victims to feed the transformation chambers while maintaining plausible facades of legal compliance and procedural legitimacy. Criminal courts throughout the Imperium sentence murderers, heretics, tax evaders, and political dissidents to servitor conversion with identical mechanical precision, regardless of the severity of their actual crimes or the strength of evidence supporting their convictions. The legal system prioritizes servitor production quotas over traditional concepts of proportional justice, viewing criminal populations as convenient sources of raw materials for essential industrial processes, rather than human beings deserving rehabilitation or fair punishment. Military tribunals condemn deserters, cowards, insubordinate soldiers, and personnel who question orders to lives of absolute mechanical obedience. transforming disciplinary problems into productive assets through surgical intervention. Combat units operating under severe stress often experience morale failures that generate steady streams of potential servitor candidates, their breakdowns providing commanders with opportunities to eliminate unreliable personnel while contributing to overall imperial industrial capacity. Administrative violations, failure to pay taxes, missing mandatory registration procedures, or inadequate compliance with bureaucratic requirements frequently result in servitor conversion sentences for citizens who lack political connections or sufficient wealth to purchase alternative punishments. The vast imperial bureaucracy generates millions of potential candidates annually through its complex networks of regulations, requirements, and administrative penalties that few ordinary citizens can navigate successfully without making fatal errors. Industrial safety inspectors classify certain workplace accidents as opportunities for human resource optimization rather than preventable tragedies, their reports emphasizing the productive potential of injured workers rather than the systemic failures that cause their disabilities. Workers who suffer injuries that prevent them from performing their original jobs often face conversion procedures that transform their remaining functional capabilities into specialized augmetic platforms designed for specific industrial applications. The selection process follows carefully documented procedures designed to maximize conversion success rates while maintaining administrative facades that satisfy legal oversight requirements. Preferred candidates possess useful technical skills, intact nervous systems capable of interfacing with augmetic components, and minimal social connections that might complicate their disappearance from official records. The selection algorithms prioritize individuals whose conversion will provide maximum industrial benefit while generating minimum administrative complications. Mental defectives require extensive neural reconstruction that increases conversion costs and reduces success probabilities, making them less attractive candidates for standard servitor production despite their availability through institutional channels. Physically damaged subjects demand expensive augmetic reconstruction procedures that may exceed the economic benefits of their eventual productivity, though specialized applications sometimes justify these additional investments. Optimal servitor stock comes from healthy adults between 20 and 40 years of age with technical training, military experience, or industrial skills that translate directly into servitor applications. Their criminal records must be substantial enough to justify transformation sentences, while avoiding crimes so severe that they generate excessive public attention or political complications that might interfere with smooth processing procedures. Medical examinations precede every conversion operation, ensuring that selected subjects can survive the invasive procedures awaiting them in the transformation chambers, while identifying specific augmetic modifications required to optimize their performance in designated roles. Neural mapping procedures identify brain regions suitable for replacement with cogitator arrays while preserving motor functions, sensory processing capabilities, and basic cognitive structures necessary for complex task completion. Psychological profiles determine which aspects of personality, memory, and emotional response require surgical elimination to achieve acceptable compliance levels without compromising operational effectiveness. The evaluation process assesses each candidate's potential for successful conversion while calculating the specific surgical interventions required to transform them into reliable servitor platforms. These comprehensive assessments enable tech priests to customize conversion procedures for individual subjects, maximizing success rates while minimizing unnecessary surgical complications. Physical assessments catalog existing injuries, genetic abnormalities, and structural deficiencies that might affect augmetic integration or long-term operational reliability. The medical evaluation identifies optimal mounting points for mechanical components, determines cardiovascular capacity for enhanced systems, and assesses skeletal strength requirements for specialized augmetic loadouts. These detailed physical analyses ensure that converted servitors can withstand the mechanical stresses of their assigned duties while maintaining acceptable service lifespans. The conversion process itself unfolds within sterile chambers deep beneath mechanicum installations, attended by tech priests who approach the sacred transformation with religious devotion and scientific precision. These specialized facilities combine surgical theaters with workshop spaces, their equipment designed to seamlessly integrate biological and mechanical components through procedures that blur the boundaries between medical intervention and industrial assembly. Anesthetic protocols vary based on efficiency calculations that balance conversion costs against success probabilities. Pain-free transformation procedures cost significantly more due to expensive pharmaceutical requirements and extended surgical times, but produce higher success rates and reduced post-conversion complications. Conscious conversion processes provide valuable stress testing for emerging servitor neural pathways while reducing chemical costs, though they generate higher failure rates and potential psychological complications that may require additional corrective procedures. The actual surgical procedures typically require 72 hours to complete, depending on the complexity of required augmetic modifications and the specific servitor type being produced. Simple labor servitor conversions focus primarily on skeletal reinforcement, limb replacement, and basic neural restructuring. Complex mental servitor transformations involve extensive cranial surgery, cogitator installation, and comprehensive personality erasure procedures that eliminate all traces of individual identity. Combat servitor production represents the most intensive conversion category, requiring complete reconstruction of the subject's torso and limbs to accommodate heavy weapon systems while installing advanced targeting computers and reflexive combat protocols. These extensive procedures push the boundaries of what the human frame can accommodate, resulting in servitor platforms that bear only superficial resemblance to their original biological forms. Post-conversion monitoring ensures that newly created servitors integrate smoothly into their assigned operational roles, while identifying potential complications that could affect long-term productivity or reliability. The observation period typically lasts 45 days, during which tech priests conduct daily examinations of mechanical systems, neural pathway stability, and behavioral compliance with programming parameters. Success rates for standard conversion procedures hover around 93.7% when conducted in properly equipped facilities by qualified tech priests using approved subjects who meet all selection criteria. Failed conversions provide valuable diagnostic information for process improvements while contributing salvageable components to spare parts inventories maintained for routine servitor maintenance procedures. The recovered materials from failed conversions include augmetic components that can be refurbished for future installations, biological tissues suitable for nutrient paste production, and neural tissue samples that contribute to research programs aimed at improving conversion success rates. Even failure serves the greater machine, each unsuccessful transformation generating data that enhances the efficiency of subsequent procedures. Quality control metrics track conversion success rates across different demographic groups, facility types, and tech priest specializations, identifying optimal source populations for various servitor categories while highlighting systematic issues that require administrative attention. These comprehensive statistics enable Mechanicum administrators to optimize their conversion procedures for maximum efficiency while maintaining acceptable cost ratios and production schedules. The numbers paint their own cold portrait of human worth measured in industrial productivity gains and resource allocation matrices. Each successful conversion represents a victory for imperial efficiency over the messy complications of human consciousness, emotion, and individual dignity. The mathematics are compelling. One properly converted servitor provides decades of reliable service while consuming minimal resources and generating zero disciplinary complications. Step back far enough and the pattern refuses to blink, its scope and implications visible only when viewed from sufficient distance to encompass the full magnitude of the system's reach. The Imperium of Man spans 10,000 worlds connected by vast networks of trade routes, supply chains, and administrative hierarchies that require constant maintenance, endless paperwork, and workers capable of functioning in environments that would kill ordinary humans within minutes of exposure. Every Forge world operates massive conversion facilities that process thousands of subjects monthly, their production schedules calibrated to meet local labor demands, while contributing to sector-wide servitor distribution networks that supply specialized units to facilities throughout imperial space. Every hive city contains judicial systems that generate steady streams of candidates for conversion, their legal processes designed to identify expendable populations while maintaining facades of procedural legitimacy. Every military campaign produces casualties, prisoners, and disciplinary cases that provide raw materials for combat servitor production, their operational requirements creating constant demand for specialized platforms capable of operating in specific combat environments. The vast machinery of galactic warfare depends on these mechanical soldiers who advance through killing fields without fear, hesitation, or the self-preservation instincts that complicate tactical planning for human commanders. The system perpetuates itself through its own terrible efficiency, each servitor representing both a solution to immediate labor shortages and a demonstration of the Imperium's commitment to extracting maximum utility from every available resource, including its own human population. The process has achieved a kind of industrial immortality. As long as the Imperium requires workers, soldiers, and administrators, the conversion facilities will continue operating, their sacred machinery transforming human consciousness into mechanical compliance with ruthless precision. The irony cuts deeper than any surgical blade wielded in the conversion chambers. An empire founded on humanity's manifest destiny to rule the galaxy maintains itself by systematically destroying the essential humanity of its own citizens, reducing thinking, feeling people to biological components in vast mechanical systems. The same species that conquered the stars and claimed dominion over countless alien civilizations does so by creating armies of lobotomized slaves who possess human hands but have forgotten what it means to be human. Every servitor shuffling through a manufactorum represents a small apocalypse, a complete destruction of individual consciousness, personality, and potential wrapped in flesh that continues to breathe and move according to programming parameters that define its entire existence. 10 billion such apocalypses occur daily throughout imperial space, each one a victory for efficiency over humanity that keeps the galaxy's greatest civilization functioning at optimal capacity. The Imperium proclaims the sanctity of human life while operating conversion facilities that process millions of living humans into servitor platforms annually. Their sacred rhetoric about human dignity existing alongside administrative protocols that reduce individual people to supply chain statistics and productivity metrics. The contradiction represents more than mere hypocrisy. It reveals the fundamental transformation that conquest of the galaxy has imposed on human values and priorities. Tech priests praise the blessed efficiency of their mechanical workforce while forgetting that efficiency possesses faces, billions upon billions of faces, each one surgically removed to reveal the circuitry and cogitator arrays that enable optimal industrial performance. The machine god supposedly loves all flesh, but that divine love expresses itself through scalpels and neural inhibitors, through the systematic erasure of everything that distinguishes living flesh from dead meat. The sacred marriage of flesh and steel celebrated in Mechanicum doctrine occurs through procedures that divorce flesh from soul, spirit from substance, consciousness from the biological platforms that once housed human dreams, fears, and aspirations. In the name of humanity's survival among the stars, the Imperium has industrialized the destruction of human identity on a scale that surpasses the atrocities committed by any alien species in recorded history. The servitors themselves provide the cruelest irony of all, their existence representing both humanity's greatest technological achievement and its most profound moral failure. Created to be perfect servants, they retain just enough biological heritage to perform complex tasks, while losing everything that made their humanity meaningful or valuable. They possess human hands that will never again know the sensation of affectionate touch, human eyes that will never again see beauty for its own sake, and human hearts that beat solely to power the machines that deny their very existence as individuals worthy of consideration. They represent humanity's children and humanity's victims simultaneously, living proof that survival and soul are not always compatible, that technological progress and moral progress do not necessarily advance together. Each servitor embodies the question that the Imperium refuses to ask. What does it profit a civilization to gain the galaxy while losing its humanity? In the great manufactorums of Mars and 10,000 other worlds, millions of servitors continue their eternal labors, their augmetic limbs moving in perfect synchronization while their modified brains process commands without comprehension. They work without complaint because they cannot remember what complaints are, serve without question because they have forgotten how to formulate questions, and die without fear because they no longer understand what they have lost. The machine needs what it needs, and what it needs is the endless sacrifice of human souls ground fine enough to lubricate the gears of galactic empire. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war, and war demands workers too broken to dream of peace, too modified to remember what they once were, and too perfectly programmed to imagine what they might have become. The prayer wheels turn, the servo skulls sing their binary hymns, and the great work continues. Efficiency has a body count, and the Imperium counts every soul.